Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. I'm your host, Jared Moon. The Garage Gym Athlete Podcast is a result of my desire to build better humans, unequivocal coaches, and autonomous athletes. I've spent the last several years obsessing over program design, nutrition, and every other way you can optimize human performance. This podcast distills the latest scientific research with what I've learned and blends it with the not-so-scientific field of mental toughness. We are here to build you into a dangerously effective athlete. If you enjoy this podcast, you can find out more about our training at garagegymathlete.com. And if you want to pursue more into the field of coaching and programming, head to endof3fitness.com. Thanks for listening. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. Jared Moon here with Ashley Hicks. How's it going, Ashley?
Hey, what's up?
And we have Joe Courtney. How you doing, man?
Officially homeless.
Officially homeless during interesting times.
Yeah,
I would say.
I'm just being so brave.
Yeah, you're, off traveling the country amidst a pandemic. So let's get some updates from you guys. I have some quick COVID-19 updates. I want to give everybody just from my perspective as a fitness coach only, and kind of push people in the right direction. But hold on one second. All right, sorry about that. Had some technical difficulties for a second, but we should be good to go. So anyway, we were going to, who's doing updates first? Was it Joe? Me.
So you
Ashley.
pointed,
Actually,
but
you.
there's no reference.
Let's when you have technical difficulties, it throws everything off. So actually, I want to get some updates from you, then Joe, and then I'll talk about COVID-19 and some other stuff going on in Endo3 Fitness. Ashley, how's life?
Life is good. It's going to be busy here. Unless, airlines shut down and whatnot. We've got visitors coming to our house pretty much starting next weekend until the end of May. I still have a trip planned so far to come to Dallas. So we'll see how everything goes, how everything pans out. But a shout out to everybody that is working amongst this craziness, that, if you're in any sort of retail, if you work at Walmart, that's specifically what I'm talking about. Y'all be nice to people. There are some rude people in this world, and that's the thing that I'm witnessing is people are freaking out. So then they're just taking it out on others, and employees at other stores don't have any control over all this mess. Meaning, if there's no toilet paper or no wipes, there's no reason to get mad at people. So that's my little.
I completely agree with you. Like
rant.
to be honest, I get really fearful when stuff like this happens. So the pandemic, whatever, the virus is scary. It's serious. Maybe not for our age group or whatever, but I'm more scared of people in general.
Yeah.
Like what happens if markets crash or people can't get a hold of toilet paper. It's like, it's funny now, some of this stuff, but like if this escalates for several weeks, people will get out of control, ugly, nasty fights. Like it would get way worse. People are scary. Joe, I think you posted it perfectly. And I think this was just on your personal Facebook page, but the Men in Black, Tommy Lee Jones quote. And I was thinking about it too. I was like, I didn't go into the GIF route or whatever, because I just didn't think about it. But a person is smart, but people are dangerous and stupid. And it's so true. That's like one of the truest quotes I've ever seen. So yeah, it's insane. It's only going to get crazier, I'm afraid.
I'm very wisdomous.
Wisdomous for sure. All right. Is that everything, Ashley?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So be careful with that travel. I think you'll be all right though. Joe, you're traveling, and I think you posted a picture. There's like, you're on the flight. Is that it?
Yeah.
So this is as close to a private jet you may get, man. This is pretty amazing.
Yeah, like I just got an email for my flight. Like they're pushing to like people to, hey, there's still the big chairs if you want to upgrade. And I was like, awesome, I should do that. And I clicked on it for a second. It's only $15. And then I looked, and there's nobody in the row in front of me, in my row, and 5 rows behind me. So I'm like, well, I can spread out.
Well, as far as it's kind of like reverse. You're supposed to be doing the social distancing thing, right? But if you're the only person on a plane, then it's not that dangerous, right? Because you're like, it's just you. So
yeah, so I guess people just aren't flying, which, hey, I'm okay with it. So I'm not going to go for that big seat. I'm just going to have a row to myself, which is nice because red eyes suck. So yeah, I am in the midst of traveling. House is all packed up. That's this past week. It was insanity. Last 2 days have been cleaning and painting, which I'm terrible at, but had my walkthrough yesterday. And
wait, you're terrible at cleaning or painting or both?
Just everything. All the above. Just
I don't have the
all of this.
patience for painting.
Yeah, no. Luckily, one of the walls that I painted, or some of the stuff that I painted, was white, so I just didn't tape anything. But then, like, you can see where I color outside the lines. I make my own lines. Fine. And I didn't paint all that much, so it was okay. So, but packing for 3 months is kind of hard. I'm pretty sure I forgot some stuff, but I got my microphone, so the podcast shall go on.
That's all you need, really.
Yeah. It also rained all week this week, which is just weird for San Diego.
That's what's happened in Dallas as well.
Yeah. But the one day that it did have sun, I went for a good run. So, but I've only trained that once this week, but that's okay. Get my life back on track next week.
Dude, get that back on track.
I'll be fine. Well, see, I guess I can go into this. This is why, like, throughout most of programming and when life is normal, I'm training 6, even 7 times a week and like eating as clean as possible, because when these crazy moments in life happen, which they happen to everybody, when you have like two weeks where everything's in disarray, I'm not really worried about skipping a couple of workouts because, 3 months prior to this, I was on point. I was even doing extra work on outside of my, the program, to do like extra zone 2 and stuff on the bike. So I'm not too worried about it. And I think even adding stress, if you're worried about, even right now, if you can't get to the gym, if you've been fine for months and if you can jump back into it, then don't add that extra stress to your life. Just kind of keep on keeping on and get back on the horse when you can.
Yeah, that's how I feel. Sometimes I'm pretty militant, and then when I travel, I loosen up a little bit more. That used to be my thing, but now I'm traveling almost too much for that to be okay. So I kind of stopped that. But no, I get it, man. And updates from me, just spent some time with Ashley and Scott at their house down in Florida, which is awesome. Florida was great. And then like the day or two before we left, I knew it was around, but just I feel like things really kicked up with this coronavirus, COVID-19, everything. Like it just kicked into high gear. And so things have been kind of crazy with all that. For reasons like Ashley was mentioning, just people being insane and, fighting at grocery stores or whatever. But I do feel way more confident in my family's ability to survive an apocalypse, because if the rest of the American population is only concerned about toilet paper when things are heading south, like we're going to be just fine. We're worried about dry goods and water, and everyone else is like, I need that toilet paper. So I think that's pretty funny. But I wanted to give some updates on things, and we've kind of joked about it around internally because nothing changes for us, right? We all work from home, and we have a very virus friendly company with people training at home for Garage Gym Athlete, and I think you definitely should do that. And we're actually giving away some free programming right now. Our Red Pill Bodyweight program. If you're not one of our athletes, I guess just email us. I don't have a link for that anywhere. If you didn't get the email, we send it on 5 Line Friday. But if you email us, we can share that link if for some reason you didn't get it. So you get a free bodyweight program, just something we're trying to do for people who aren't going to the gym and they are quarantined or doing social distancing and all that stuff. But I tried to think for the last 2 days, like, what could I share from fitness perspective, coach perspective for people with, dealing with this virus? Like, what can we do? And we'll kind of, our topic is kind of in line with some of that stuff today. But I mean, there's not a ton you probably can do at this point, but I would say staying away, like everything that we talk about and have talked about, like we're way more about healthy than performance than we are anything else. And so all the advice we've given on this podcast, I just kind of want to reemphasize those things, because if Joe got coronavirus or Ashley, it's probably a non-issue, just given, like I said, age, health level, like all these things. But if you're practicing things like the EO3 elements, all of the things that we have in the EO3 elements, you're exercising regularly, like there's not much else you can do. Like we're going to talk about some things not about in our topic today, not to say, hey, this is how you avoid getting coronavirus. There's just some topics we're going to go over to what we do to bolster our immune system. But I would just say keep at it. And the only thing I would avoid, which also we've been saying in the podcast, is I would stay away from high intensity training if you're trying to take care of your immune system right now. We've talked about that a lot. And I wouldn't overdo it. If you're staying home and that's new for you and you're like, you know what, why not? I'm going to work out twice a day, start hitting it up 7 days a week. We talked about that reverse, that J curve. So, people who are metabolically unhealthy, they get sick a lot. People who train moderately, it gets cut in half. And then the people who train excessively, double that of the metabolically unhealthy people. And that's with infections like the flu or viruses like the flu and things like that. So don't increase your training volume. I wouldn't do anything like that. I would stay in the zone 2 range. Limit your intensity. Don't go super high intensity because we talked about how that you can screw up your gut as well. That's big with your immune system. So those are just my basics. Like let's stay away from high intensity where you can keep your immune system firing on all cylinders and EO3 elements and live a healthy lifestyle. That's about all you can do at this point, right?
Sexy Saturday.
Yeah. Maybe if you're doing the meet yourself Saturdays, because some of those can be intense, just don't be as intense. Maybe limit some of the intensity. I'm not going to change the programming. I'm not going to go that far yet, but because we're already working out in our garages, most of us in our quarantine. So that's all I have to
week.
say.
So it's kind of like a sexy week.
It's perfect.
Body geometry.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite weeks, to be honest. Okay, that's you guys have anything on COVID-19 that you want to say to the garage gym athletes out there?
Probably not.
No, I think you hit the good points, so we'll stick with that.
Yeah. And also, no, I think the only thing I am seeing, and this is more of a personal bias, but the social distancing thing is not important for, I just think the demographic of this podcast is maybe in the safer range of even catching it, being able to survive. But I know in my life specifically, I interact with family members who are well into their 70s, almost 80. I have other family members who are not the most metabolically healthy people on the planet, cardiac issues, high blood pressure, things like that. So I'm actually taking some of this stuff more seriously because I don't know what I would do with myself if I was the person to maybe be asymptomatic, infect someone else. So that's why I'm kind of taking some of this stuff seriously. If I go down, I'm sure I will recover. I hope that I would recover, but if getting someone else sick would be, like I had a trip planned. I was supposed to go see my grandpa who's in his 80s and has had like massive heart problems over the last couple of years. I'm not going on that trip anymore because I had to fly on an airplane to go see him and stuff. So like those are just some of the precautions I'm taking other than, my kids are home. We're going to see how that goes for the next couple of weeks and have some fun. Yeah, that's all I have.
I told my parents to lock grandma in the basement.
There you go. That's what.
We'll send food down in a basket.
like at the bottom of a well.
Yeah, grandma's be fine.
All right, awesome. Well, let's talk about this study. I think it's pretty straightforward, and you guys got a lot of good points out of it. So I'm actually going to throw it to you guys to start. But the name of the study is Association of Sleep Quality in Macronutrient Distribution, a Systematic Review in Meta-Regression. So this one is pretty cool because we've all heard probably conflicting information about should you eat before bed, should you not, should you drink a protein shake before bed. There's a lot of that stuff circulating more in gym circles, bro science stuff, and now there's some science on it. This was done in 2020. This is a brand new study. And so we can talk about it a little bit. Let me pull out some of the information here. So as I mentioned, this is a systematic review. So they're looking at a lot of stuff. They had inclusion criteria. Let me see. The authors examined 15 cross-sectional studies and 4 randomized controlled trials to determine if there's a relationship between macronutrient distribution and sleep quality. And then they had 2 different set of inclusion criteria. The first one I'm not going to go over, but the second one is they basically were looking for adults 19 years or older as the mean age. Intervention / exposure groups which consume high carbs, proteins, or fats. And they also studies were excluded if they reported evening meals. And I think because there's already been some literature suggesting that that could be problematic, and we'll kind of talk about some of that stuff. But that's essentially, they were looking at a bunch of studies to see if there was any correlation with macronutrient distribution and your sleep quality, sleep efficiency, like everything that had to do with sleep. So I would love to hear some of your takeaways, and I'll start with you, Ashley.
Sure. So I really liked this study. Some of the things that stood out to me, I would say, for me, the extra protein or the higher protein in your diet makes more sense to me, just because it seems like people would be more satiated because of lack of your glycemic index spiking, right? So in my personal opinion, if you are eating stuff that is, high in carbohydrates, high where your body is having to constantly burn that sugar, it makes sense to me that your sleep would be not as great as someone who does, a higher protein diet. Now, the thing that I still believe in, and I know we said we're going to touch on this, but I still think that you should stop eating at a certain time before you go to bed. I don't believe that you should eat, do a shake or something high in protein, like have a steak right before you go to sleep, because, there are, stuff that shows that can also affect your sleep as well. But to me, the study made complete sense on basically what I think we all do, how we all eat here in on the EO3 team, pretty much. And yeah, I really liked it.
Yeah, I thought it was cool. I haven't seen this, and I think there is, like I said, a lot of bro science that circulates this topic about what you should and shouldn't do, predominantly probably from the bodybuilding world. Joe, what were some of your takeaways?
It made sense a lot, because when you're sleeping, your body is repairing itself. It's trying to heal, and protein is typically used to do that.
I guess I didn't say the main takeaway. So that, because you guys have both mentioned it, and I was like, wait, no, I never actually said it. So the only pattern that emerged from the study was that consuming higher protein led to better sleep almost across all categories. So that's, out of everything they were looking at, they didn't find anything else with macronutrients necessarily. They were looking at fats, carbohydrates, and stuff like that. They just found higher levels of protein. I think it was in the neighborhood of, is it 30-ish% or more, 30% or more of your calories. We could get into how many grams of protein we think you should have, but 30% of your calories coming from protein seem to equate to better sleep. So sorry to interrupt, Joe. What else did you have?
Yeah. That's good. So if your body's repairing at night to sleep, and while it's sleeping, protein kind of does that. So if you have a bunch of carbs, your body doesn't need energy when you're sleeping. So it's just it made sense to affect that. The fat one, I was a little bit surprised about. I was almost thinking that fat not that it would lend to better sleep, but not necessarily hinder sleep. So that was a little bit surprising to me, because there's times where, if you go to bed, before you go to bed, you have some nuts or something a little bit fattier, just so you don't wake up in the middle of the night starving. Because I know some people will be like that. Liz, every once in a while, with her blood sugar is not so well, she'll wake up in the middle of the night hungry, and then it'll be hard for her to sleep because she's hungry. But I guess if protein's better throughout the day, then it'd be better to stay more satiated.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I wonder if fat type, I don't think they tracked that, but I wonder if fat type would matter.
Probably.
Yeah, or how they're used to, or I guess it could also affect how, depending on what their macro breakdown is. So like if they're not on a higher fat regimen, but then they have a bunch of fat before they sleep, it might be weird or cause like the gurgles.
Yeah, the gurgles.
That's the best way to put it.
So one, this is interesting, like anecdotal, 100% anecdotal, just me. But when I was wearing the Whoop, I noticed this happen 3 separate times. We planned out a big steak meal for dinner, and I noticed both waking up and how I felt, and through some of the Whoop data, just like resting heart rate and primarily heart rate variability didn't really affect my resting heart rate, but having a big steak, which I don't do often for dinner, that's not like we don't crush, 16 ounces of steak, several times a week. So it is a little bit more rare for us to do that. My sleep quality was a lot better. And I feel like I'm always getting enough protein, and I'm not talking about right before bed, like Ashley said. I'm just talking about for dinner. So maybe for us, we eat dinner pretty early. So like 5 or 6 o'clock. I had this, a big steak with just vegetables and some potatoes. That's generally like what we do if we have a steak dinner. And I just noticed on 3 separate occasions, my sleep quality and my recovery was way better after doing that. And like I said, that's anecdotal, but kind of goes in line with a study. Maybe I needed more protein than I thought I did or something. But I found it pretty interesting because I've noticed that a few times, and now kind of science backs it up. Eat more protein. I honestly think that most people don't eat enough protein. Like, I think that's way more rampant than most people realize, that you shouldn't be consuming a ton, or you shouldn't be consuming such small amounts of protein. It's because all people come out and talk. They have their other studies about, high protein diets are going to destroy your kidneys. And that's just not true. I think someone said that in our Facebook group once. And so I did the research for them, and I linked to, I think it was 17 different studies. I posted all the studies. I wasn't trying to be mean. I'm trying to be helpful. And so I linked to all the studies and let them know, like, hey, that I've heard that before too, but that's not generally the case. So if anybody wants any of that data, just let me know, and I can shoot it your way as well. I have it saved.
Ask a simple question, and Jared gives you his dissertation.
Well, if you're going to speak like a definitive statement about what people should or should not be doing within our community, then I'm not going to give you my opinion back to your opinion. I'm going to give you studies back to your opinion.
Facts.
That way you can do your own research and come to your own conclusion. But yeah, I think that was about it. Do you guys have anything else? There was the interesting part about not taking BCAAs before bed.
Yeah, I wanted to go into that a little bit. That was a really cool takeaway to me, especially because there's a lot of people who, you give out the protein challenge for people to get their protein, and there's always somebody each cycle, which it's no big deal, but they're always like, okay, so who out there takes a protein shake, like casein or whey shake, before they go to bed to get enough protein and to repair your body before bed? But in here, that's actually worse for you because was it tryptophan?
So essentially what it looks like the mechanism is that when you load your system with BCAAs, it competes with the receptors that tryptophan would otherwise be utilizing. So you won't get as sleepy, I think.
Because tryptophan helps promote melatonin, which helps you sleep.
Right. And that tryptophan basically can't be used if you are too saturated with like this mega dose of leucine. Because we've talked about leucine being good, but when you're supplementing with something, you're putting abnormal doses in your body that wouldn't typically get from, if you're taking 7 grams of leucine or something because you really want that muscle gain. It's like, well, how much steak would you need to eat, at 9 o'clock right before you went to bed to get 7 grams of leucine? It's quite a bit. So that's just something that people have to take in mind when you're supplementing. You're giving mega doses, and there's generally always a trade-off. That's the same with any sort of medicine you're taking, any supplement you're taking. Anytime you want to shortcut something, there's some biological process you're probably screwing up, and we just have to always weigh, is the risk worth the reward? So
the juice worth the squeeze.
There you go.
That's what I was trying to figure out.
I like that version too.
I've always been against protein shake before bed or anything like that because your body's digesting it. It's not sleeping. That's why you're not supposed to eat anything before bed. So casein's still going to be the same thing. So you're not actually sleeping. Your body's digesting, and then it'll get to sleep. So I usually don't have anything within 2 hours of going to bed.
Yeah, I've been fasting for so long at this point, I almost can't even recall. Like I normally always stop eating at 7. Even if I don't fast the next day, I'm generally always done eating around 7. And then I don't go to bed till 9. So yeah, I at least have a 2-hour break. Ashley, you ever eat close to bed?
No, I don't feel good when I do it, and my stomach gets the gurgles, as Joe likes to say. So yeah, no, I stop around 6 to 7 like you, and we're always in bed in between 8:30, probably asleep by 9. So yeah, that's anywhere from 2 to 3 hours of digesting, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like that's probably perfect amount of time too. Okay, I think that was it. Let me go through my notes real quick and make sure I didn't have anything else. there was another interesting study linked. They reported a positive dose response relationship between increase in strength and lean mass with protein intake to a plateau of 1.6 grams kilograms per day. So let me let you know what that mumbling I just did means. So what they were, there was another study linked within this review of the study that looked at a systematic review, meta-analysis, and meta-regression of the effect of protein supplementation on resistance training induced gains in muscle mass and strength in healthy adults. And they actually found a point in which supplementation just isn't really that beneficial anymore. And it seemed to be 1.6 grams per kilogram, which for me, 185-pound male, would be about 134 grams of protein. And this was looking at supplementation. And so I think it's just interesting. We've talked about this before too. If you're trying to get enough protein, I always try to limit how much protein I get from supplemented sources to 1 shake a day. At the high end, I would ever do is 2, and that's dependent on what's going on that day. But anything beyond that, because if I had 2 shakes and they were anywhere, so let's say they're 40 grams of protein, that would be a lot, but let's just say they were. That's 80 grams. That's a significant portion of my protein in a day that came from supplemented sources. So do try to get as much as you can from food sources when you're trying to get protein. And that's something I always like to stress anytime we talk about getting more protein, because I don't want anyone to just go out there and be like, I need more protein. Let's have more protein shakes. And so if you're eating like half a chicken breast per day and the rest of your protein is whey, I don't know that would be bad for you. I just have a feeling supplementation over, whole food sources is probably not as good, right?
Right.
Even though the supplements themselves have been proven to be safe, I still just err on that side of let's eat food. All right. So now we're going to be talking about the coronavirus and how to not get it, and 100% foolproof method on how to just kidding. We're going to be talking about just things that we do when we are feeling sick or think that we might get sick, things that we want to do to bolster our immune system. We are not saying these things will prevent you from getting coronavirus, but I do have one interesting thing to mention before we jump into what we do. So I posted on my Instagram account a long time ago. I had to go pull it up and pull up the research study, but it was done by Yale, and they looked at the effects of what your body needs when it's fighting a bacterial infection versus a viral infection. And bacterial infection seems to operate better and fight it off better when it's utilizing ketones. So fasting might be beneficial for a bacterial infection. A viral infection, they said it seems to do better with glucose or carbohydrate. So you want to continue eating. And so that's just something, again, I'm not a doctor. I have no idea if that's is good information for coronavirus or not. But the research on that one pretty much, fast if it's bacterial, eat if it's viral. So just something to keep in mind as we all contract the coronavirus over the next several months. But
there's a saying that says starve a cold, feed a virus. So
I've never heard that, but I have.
Yeah, it's actually a saying, starve a cold, feed a virus.
I had to let it register, make sure that coincided with the study. So anyway, that's that. Ashley, what do you do?
So most importantly, I try to up my sleep or focus more on sleep. So obviously your body regenerates as you sleep. That's the way your body heals itself. So sleep is definitely something I focus on. And then you kind of touched on it with the study, but to help my body, I make sure that I still get in good holistic food and I don't just eat crap just because I feel bad.
Right. That can be tough too. If you're feeling bad, you're like, all I want is pizza or something, something that's not great. Yeah.
Exactly. So take the time to actually still fuel your body with good stuff. Because in the end, it's going to help you recover better, recover faster. And then a few things I do supplementation wise, I try not to it depends on what it is, right? So I try to not medicate myself if I don't have to. So I try to up my vitamin C, and I'm not talking about like emergency or anything else that potentially has like artificial stuff. The pure powder form of vitamin C is what I put in it. So basically, if it tastes like an orange juice, that's typically fine. It might help you, but it still has a lot of crap in it. Pure vitamin C powder tastes super tart and it does not taste good, but it's good for you and it goes in faster because you are drinking it, right? And we talk a lot about liquids and how fast that goes into your body. But yeah, and then we kind of already touched on some of it, but I do not do high intensity days. If I notice that we are going super hard on our workouts, I scale it back. Whether that means I'm doing some stretching, walking, maybe I only do the strength portion because it's not going towards intensity. It's more, lower, I guess, lower heart rate, whatever you want to look at that, maybe some zone 2 stuff, then I will stick to doing that. And then last but not least, I try to wash my hands. I switch out my toothbrush. I know that's kind of weird, but I'm like, oh, my toothbrush has all these germs that I had, so why don't I just switch it out and get a new toothbrush? And I like to wash my pillowcase because, you're breathing, slobbering into your pillowcase all night long. So I like to do that. But yeah, those are some of the things I do.
Awesome. And Joe, what do you do?
Well, I just up my immune system all the time by drinking out of the hose and surpassing the 5-second rule.
And flying on planes when there's about to be a travel restriction. Yeah,
exactly.
That's
do
great.
all those things.
Just small doses, man. Small inoculation.
Yeah. I rarely get sick. And I don't even know if I've had the flu or just like colds or whatever. But when I do get sick, it only happens like once a year. And I'll be down for like 24 hours. And then I'll be recovered and something like that. I stay away from meds as much as possible, like Ashley said. But then once I get sick, it's more of like a onslaught. I'm taking everything, knocking this thing out for 24 hours, taking all the drugs, and then I'm done. But decongestants, I blow my nose a ton. So when your body produces mucus is there to absorb bacteria, but you have to get rid of it still. So blow your nose constantly and drink a ton of water. That's the main thing that I do for a long time, drinking a lot of water. And I make homemade bone broth, and I always, when I'm not homeless, I always have bone broth in the freezer, just ready to go. And I'll freeze some, or I'll thaw some of it out, put some veggies in it, and just drink some bone broth, because the collagen in it is really good for you. It lowers inflammation. It helps your gut, which the gut will also boost the immune system. A lot of times when you're sick, you don't have an appetite, but it's really easy to drink something. So that's easier to get down versus like trying to make like a salad or a sandwich or something like that. So it's easy to supplement in as well. So that's really what I try and do. Sunshine, fresh air.
Sunshine and fresh air might be all you need.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll go over quickly. It's really kind of a combination of what you guys do. I'm doing this a lot less lately, but I think my prevalence of sickness has decreased quite a bit over the last several years. I think I used to get sick more frequently, and now I feel like my sicknesses are more like I just don't feel right for like 24 hours, but it doesn't really affect anything in my life. And then I'm normally back to normal the next day. But ridiculously high doses of vitamin C, like Ashley was saying, but maybe uncomfortable. Not even sure I should mention how much I'm taking or have taken in a single day publicly.
It's okay. You pee it out if you don't use it.
Right. But it is it's not measured in milligrams anymore when I'm playing this game. It's in grams. It's several grams, sometimes in the double digits of vitamin C. Yeah, because vitamin C only lasts in your system, I think it's for about 30 minutes, and then you pee it out. It's water soluble. But again, I'm not a doctor, medical professional. I'm not saying you should do these things. This is just what I've done in the past. So really high doses of vitamin C. I increase my vitamin D, whether that's going outside more, if applicable, or just actually supplementing with more vitamin D when I when I feel like I'm getting sick or I am sick. And then unrestricted sleep, which Ashley mentioned. I kind of already do that. That was more of a factor when I used to wake up super early. I'd be like, okay, if I'm sick, I'm not going to wake up early. And now I just I'm waking up at 6 every day. My body doesn't want to sleep more than I do right now. So sleeping. And then I think a majority of this is like, I don't think any of us get sick that much. And it's probably just because we take care of ourselves and exercise regularly. And that's the biggest thing that you can do. I think medical doctors get annoyed with this topic of like people talking about taking vitamin C when they're sick and all this stuff. Well, one, I'm saying you're not taking enough. No, not really. I think they're right in the case of if you have something awful like the coronavirus and you think that like some vitamin C is gonna take care of it, that it's not. But we can do everything in our power to do these things frequently enough to where we're healthy, to where we minimize the symptoms or it's not as bad. So I think I try to not take medicine as well, like at all, any type of medicine, almost ever. So it has to be really bad. And I used to be very different. I used, like back in the day, I don't even know how long ago, but if I had like just a little bit of a headache, I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna take some ibuprofen. And now, like,
800 milligram Motrin cures all, right?
Yeah. And I think, really ever since I've been married, I kind of dropped that mentality. I could have like a splitting migraine and it won't even occur to me that there's a medicine that I could take to make it better until like someone reminds me like, why don't you take something for that? I'm like, oh yeah, medicine. Like maybe I should do that. So yeah, I stay away from medicine most of the time. And that's it, guys. Sleep and vitamin D, fresh air, like Joe said. I think it's good.
And if you need to lock somebody down a well, lower some things into a basket.
Yeah, that's the best case
Poor grandma.
Yeah, it puts the antibacterial stuff on the skin.
My goodness.
And I will
Silence of the Lambs reference for all of you people that didn't know.
I've never even seen it, but it's very popular.
I thought it was Joe Dirt.
Yeah, exactly.
It puts the lotion on the skin.
Joe Dirt in the hole.
Oh man.
I will say the same thing Ashley said. So the vitamin C I do take or have taken in the past is pure vitamin C, whether as sodium ascorbate or ascorbic acid, and there's other forms that we've experimented as well. But it is the pure, like there's nothing in it but vitamin C, because taking high doses of that's airborne, because you're trying to get, that is really dangerous. So I just want to, like, if you're like Jared said, take 10 grams of vitamin C. So I'm just gonna have 10 grams worth of vitamin C from airborne. Your kidneys might shut down. I don't know, because I don't know what else is in there. But if it's just vitamin C, ask your doctor what you should do first before you take any of my recommendations. But yeah, I would take a bunch of those kind of things.
I just do emergency. I'm sure there's stuff in it, but
I think emergency has like 1 gram.
Yeah, it's 1 gram.
1 gram of vitamin C, and that's like just getting started in my world.
Oh man.
Athletic Greens has almost like a 0.5 gram of vitamin C in it already.
Yep.
So, okay. Get to that workout. Confused 2K. Does anybody want to brief it? I don't have it. Let me get it. Okay, go ahead. Here.
So the Confused 2K is 10 sets or 10 rounds for time of a 200-meter row or run. And then however long it takes you to do the 200-meter row or run, let's say it takes you 2 minutes, just for simplicity's sake, you will then hold a barbell in the front rack position and for that same amount of time. So if it took you 2 minutes to row or run, you'll do 2 minutes in that front rack position with the barbell. The weights for the competitor level is your body weight. For the established is 65 to 75% of your body weight. And then recruit is 45 to 65 of body weight or less if needed. And in huge asterisks, we say don't bend your knees or don't walk out your knees. Do bend your knees. So, yeah.
Make sure you lock out those knees, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Kidding.
So this is a great prep for coming on to Fit Week because of the 2K rows that are going there. So I'd say try and think about your pacing for whatever you want your 2K row goal is and try and stick to around there just as like see how it feels, kind of week prep. But I was holding back laughing because of Ashley's note that I remember.
So
yeah, let's hear it, Ashley. What did you get?
Yeah. So about 7 or 8 months ago, I hung out with the Moons, and Jared was like, let's test out this workout. It's going to be a Meet Yourself Saturday. So as I'm rowing, he's holding, we actually did kettlebells in the front rack. We didn't do a barbell. And it was pretty heavy kettlebell. I think he used a 72 pound. Don't remember the weight, but he was grunting very loudly, like he was like not in pain. Yeah, in pain. Yeah, like he was
grimacing.
Struggling.
Yeah.
So then in turn, it made me row faster because I was like, oh man, I don't want my partner to be in pain. I'm going to get off this rower faster. And I find out via the podcast that was all fake. It was a
strategy.
Therefore, this will always be remembered for me as the workout that Jared faked his pain. So, anyways.
Have a better partner.
I was standing behind her and I was just watching the pace. And I was like, okay. Let's try this out. And then definitely got faster. I think it was like 20 seconds per 500 meter faster. It was quite an increase. So, which
if you look at my notes, I say, make sure that for this one, push yourself on the 10 rounds. It is 10 rounds, but if you don't push yourself, it's not going to be a Meet Yourself Saturday. We always say that. And for this, I don't know, you have to kind of have to go fast. So I kind of am with Jared on this. Joe, you're probably going to say something different, but
yeah, I don't have too much. I mean, you look at it toward the long road of seeing if you can keep your pace for the entire time, but it should be a high sustainable pace,
right?
And you still have the front rack hold.
Yeah, because the slower you go, the more pain you'll be in the holds. Which the worst part of the workout is the hold. You know.
Yeah, so, and once any kind of hold you have, once a hold starts to fail, you're in deep doo doo.
Yeah, and so you want to go as fast as you can. This is another one where I tried to program it to where you can't cheat it, and I think I did a decent job.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right. I don't have anything. I think you guys perfectly go fast. Maybe go faster.
Listen to some good jams.
Good jams. That always helps. Yeah, we Ashley and I talked about this when we were together recently. Like if I'm like running and I'm listening to like an audiobook or a podcast, it's pretty slow. I'm going pretty slow, like not even intentionally. But if I listen to some good music, I am going faster, so maybe we should pull up some science on that. There actually is. I don't think we haven't covered the study, but I think I mentioned it a long time ago on like a Better Humanology podcast because I found one of those studies. It's something we can maybe dive into later, but that's for next time or some other time. That's all we have for this week. I'll say now is a great time to join Garage Gym Athlete to maintain the social distancing that you should be doing so as not to infect anyone else. But yeah, sign up for the programming if you haven't already. Support what we're doing. And hey, if you don't want to pay that monthly fee or be a part of our community, we are currently giving away, like I said, that free bodyweight program. Don't have an easy way to access it. So you will just have to email us from the website and we can shoot you a link to it. But that is about it.
New cycle webinar soon.
Yeah, that's coming up. New cycle webinar. Barbell giveaway, probably should announce in the beginning, is still going on. We're going to start reading the comments, the reviews on the next podcast for the t-shirt giveaway that we mentioned. And so just know that that's coming. It has not been forgotten. Just waiting for that to roll out a little bit more. I think 2 podcasts and 2 emails about the barbells, about what it takes for people to get really engaged. So barbell giveaways going on. So free barbell, free programming. And hey, if you really want to be part of the community and, increase your chances of being awesome, then go sign up for a trial, garagegymathlete.com. That's it. That's it for this week. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you guys next time. Thanks for listening to the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. If you want to learn more, go to garagegymathlete.com. You can learn about our training. Let us send you a copy of our book, The Garage Gym Athlete, or you can even get featured on the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. Thanks for listening.